This video is brought to you in association with Funded Today. Funded Today helps startups to succeed, especially in the fast-paced world of rewards-based crowdfunding. Its creative, marketing and consulting services can multiply your Kickstarter or Indiegogo pledges. All the links for Funded Today are in the video description below. Let's go. Let's get on with the show. Hello, Talk Funders, and here we are again with Yoami from Nawa, and we're just going to do the Talk Funding Deep Dive. And we're just going to go scroll on down to a different part of the page here. And just while we're scrolling down, I'd just like to highlight that it's the BULLETVILLE is coming to all the different platforms. It's on desktop PC at the moment, and it will be rolled out across all the different platforms. But I just love a way, just scrolling down to this part here with this really good GIF, which is again showing all the different gameplay. And I just love this piece of copy that you've written here. Is BULLETVILLE is a badass, brutal, fun, fast-paced third-person parkour hero shooter and platformer. I mean, it's just great, featuring unique parkour, I can't pronounce that right, movement, you know, hero classes, vehicles, tons of games, guns, and many more modes for hours of gameplay. And let's just break down all this idea of the gameplay in the deep dive. So let's look at the game part of the Kickstarter page. And really in the main interview, you basically alluded to how some of the bigger games have sort of lost their way. You were referring to Quake there. And really what you were wanting to do was to bring back the essence of those games and, you know, to your own game of BULLETVILLE. Maybe we can just talk through this section on the game part, please.
Yeah, sure. So the feeling of the combat in Quake when it came out, especially the Combat 3 arena, was fantastic, and I have like those feelings ingrained in my body. I mean, as I can close my eyes and I remember what it feels to jump in the air and aim with a rocket launcher and launch the rocket launcher before the other person is gonna come, and then you hit it in the air. Those feelings are there, and so we're bringing in this game, we're bringing like the best things that have happened in gaming in the last 20 years, and trying to get the essence and to recreate them into one package that gives you like the whole meal. So there are other games that have done very interesting stuff. They didn't necessarily create them, but they have a very good implementation that gave us that feeling, and we're basing on that feeling and putting it in this game. So there's like reference to other games that have done this stuff. So the frantic shooting gameplay from games like Quake Arena, diverse cast of game modes, like Overwatch. There are other games that have different game modes, but that is a good reference. Then character progression from games like Paladins or League of Legends or something, or like role-playing games where you develop a character, and the more you play, the more options you have to expand the palette of how you can play this thing. Third-person had mobility like games like Warframe and Infamous 2, especially Infamous 2. Those guys, the studio that made that game, they're brilliant minds. And we lifted quite a lot from those mechanics, where you can run on walls, grapple hook. Well, they don't have a grapple hook, so we do. So take that, Infamous. It's amazing locomotion. So basically, we're bringing amazing locomotion, and then we also have, just for fun, because that's kind of like the irony. This is a game that is all about you using your body, doing crazy stuff. But then we also have a vehicle combat for when you get bored of just running around. You can also jump in a tank and just blow things around. You don't always need to be doing locomotion. You can chill a bit.
Fantastic. We'll look at the games. We'll look at the vehicles later on.
Yes.
And a lot of these elements you're talking about is in this GIF here.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the next part is the heroes themselves. And the different heroes mentioned in the main interview. We're talking about Hunter. Can we maybe just talk our way through, just go down here and talk about the heroes? So there's Hunter.
Yes. There's Hunter. Hunter is a bandit. Bandit pirate. He was a surgeon turning to revenge lord asshole. but suave and cool. So.
It says here, hand over your booze, your money, and your guns in that order.
Yes.
So he's like, I love this character. I mean, as I say, I was reading this yesterday. I just thought it's great. And then Lacey is, a dance costs extra, but I'll kill you for free.
Yeah, she's a cabaret dancer that she's only in the bandit business for fun. She doesn't really care.
You know, and there's Lacey's gameplay.
Yes.
And then this is Geartooth.
Geartooth is like a Vietnam veteran. But of course, there is no Vietnam in 1,000 years from now, so it's put whatever is equivalent. So he's like a guy that was born to be in the jungle, killing people. You know, he just needs to be in the action.
Okay. And then there's this nice guy. Yeah,
that's Willie. That's the original little character that I made back in the day.
Yeah, that was in your Kickstarter video.
Yeah. Yes. The fun thing is, this is the most OP character in the game, because he just needs to touch you and you're dead, basically. And he doesn't have a gun, so he doesn't have any place in a shooter game, but he's one of the best characters in a shooter game. So it's a little bit of a contradiction.
And he's really into the, how do you say it, parkour. He's really, he's top on that. And then Angel.
Angel is a she's a cyber angel. She's like a very ancient AI that is discovering the meaning of life and death, and mostly death nowadays.
Fantastic. And K05.
Q5 is a classic cyber ninja. He's a clone. He's a tiny bit of his story. He's a clone that was a part of an army, but he had a malfunction, so he killed the whole cult or order that was building them. So he's the only one surviving.
Wow.
Very dangerous guy.
And then Orion.
Orion is the rebel teenage daughter of the main villain of the game. So all she's doing is a payback to her daddy that didn't treat her well.
You can see just in what you're introducing the characters, like how the whole gameplay is just going to be infused with these characters, how they develop over time. It's fantastic. Trax, who's Trax?
Trax is like a boy made of metal. He's a mechanic and really doesn't understand anything. He's just like, okay, let's do that.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Then the next section we'll move on to is movement, which we've mentioned before. So all these different ones here.
Yes. So that's slide, of course. Then you have the double jump. You can jump on air. Then we have this is a classic parkour. You can, hop over obstacles. So you're never actually stopped when you're doing the movement. Then we have run on walls, which you can do this horizontally or vertically.
Wow.
This is the one, running up a building. You can also stick to walls like in a ninja platforming game. I mean, once you're in the wall, if you let go, you just slide down so you can be, doing combat or fighting from the wall. Then you can grind like in who would do this? Sunset Overdrive or one of those skating games. Actually, we took this mechanic from the first Tony Hawk game, where you jump with a skateboard to go fast. Then grapple hook, kind of like inspired by Spider-Man, the cartoon. The actual games don't do grapple hook the way we do. You have complete freedom to attach to anything and swing from anything.
Wow. And
you can also use the grapple to do pogo. And then the glide, you can press a key so you fall slow, so you can do air combat with the character. And you can do some very old school,
Lara Croft.
Yes.
Teleport.
Then we have we have portals, and it's not in the game. We also have the jump pads. So
like
the full package.
What goes on in the environment that you've created is the striking colors. I mean, they're so bright. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's the environment that the characters are in, so we'll come to that in a minute. The vehicles, I love these vehicles, man. You had real fun developing these, I'm sure.
Yes. And most of the vehicles have two modes. So you can drive them as vehicles, but you can also turn them into hovercrafts. So they lift the wheels and they float up a little. They're better for combat.
Wow.
Uh,
And that's whenever you get tired of running around, you can jump into
yeah,
one of
there's
these.
a game mode that is only using vehicles, right? Or
You get was that Tyrannosaurus Rex?
yes. And you're gonna love the bike. I love the bike so much. It's a
Yeah,
horse,
yeah.
and then it's a hovercraft.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, let's look on to the maps, and we were just saying about the I just thought the environment and the colors and how it's all been, it just looks so bright and engaging. I find it very engaging. So let's just look at the different maps. So you have New Montana and then Old London, Tarvo,
Yes.
Sam, was that it?
So check this out. This game is an excuse to put anything that is cool and fun in a single package. So the style that is called Western, spaghetti Western, and there are many other material made in this. I mean, Star Wars, for example, they have ninjas, they have aliens, they have magic, they have spaceships, they have casinos, they have monsters, they have samurais, and there are other. One of my favorites is Farscape. I don't know if you know it. It's a
Yes.
sci-fi show. It's a fantastic show. They have all this mixture of different stuff put in the same package. And the aim with this game was to do that. And so this is about taking anything that's iconic, that is going to have a very strong emotional resonance, and then finding a way to have that in the game. So for example, Turbo Sham, that is London with steampunk. And a kind of like a Victorian horror.
Yeah.
So it's very dark and moody and, you know, like spooky. And that's London, because somebody recreated London in that country. Then we have High Stratus. This is the fantasy, super clean, super neutral, like serialized civilization where only AI live and only robots that are floating there. You know, we don't want to touch you, dirty humans. So that is that map. It's like utopia. Then of course we needed a cyberpunk with a bunch of neon. Why not? It's what can be cooler. I mean, think about this. You've seen cyberpunk many times, but what can be cooler than being that have a city that is filled with neon and be running on those walls?
Yeah.
That's never done. So we're doing it.
Great. I love it. I love what the ones that stuck out to me was the Tokyo ones. I just thought what you've done there is phenomenal, man. I love it.
Thanks. The Wild West, because at the end of the day, this is a Wild West game, so we need a lot of Wild West so we don't get lost in all the other crazy stuff going on. So that's the Wild West one. Then the district, this is like the slums, very industrial, you know, a bunch of pipes, contaminated water, tiny houses with massive engines dropping and getting rotten. So that's the district. The Wasteland is basically Mad Max, because what will be cooler than doing all the crazy stuff we're doing in this game in a Mad Max kind of setting. So that's the Wasteland. And yeah. The Castle of Arg, that's an internal joke, but basically this is the medieval magical castle that is, you know, an existing aesthetic. We're bringing that into the game as well.
Great.
The Waypoint Station, the origin of this was kind of like Alien, the Alien franchise. And so we're going there. It's like a very abandoned space station that is going to have some monsters going around. The Skull Temple is Japan, obviously, because it's just freaking beautiful. And one of the characters, K05, he comes from this temple. This is where he killed all his brothers. And yeah. I don't know how to pronounce this one. This was Reese that named this map. But this is Egypt. If Egypt had been, you know, that conspiracy theory that the pyramids and all those temples from thousands of years ago were actually run by aliens. So this is a temple that still has the alien on it.
Oh, I love it, man.
Yes.
Well, we'll have to tap into the conspiracy markets and push them towards this game because they're going to love it. Fantastic. I mean, that's a nod again to the fun and the thought that you put into it. You know what I mean? To have a laugh with the conspiracy guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you were saying, let's just look on to the team now. You know, as you were saying at the main interview, you were saying, "Oh, this is just going to take 6 months," but 4 years later, and I can do it myself. Oh, and now 4 years later, you have really this awesome team. And I think, and it really is. I mean, I worked my way through. You know, it was lovely. I think this is a nice approach that you took on the Kickstarter page, where people who are really interested, particularly in those pledges, which is like encouraging people who want to get involved. I mean, one thing I love about what you've been saying regarding the pledges and just regarding the game development itself, is very much community focused. You know, it's okay, you can buy the game, but you really need that feedback, I suppose, yourselves, you know, to keep tinkering, keep improving the game. And I just think it's great. So it's great here that you've got your whole team, who I'm sure put blood, sweat, and tears.
Play this one so you understand who I'm dealing with. Play the one with Rob. That's gonna be fun. I guarantee. Play a tiny bit of the Rob one.
Of the Robert one? Okay.
Yes, we're gonna enjoy it. Doesn't have sound?
Yeah, I can just hear it. But
okay.
So that's the style of the that, you can see why I laugh all the way through, you know, preparing for the interview and actually doing this interview. Robert, you know, people can, the Talk Funders can go and listen to the video itself and hear what he's saying, but you can sort of see the humor with Robert, and I suppose that it seems to run through all the team, you know, so it's great.
Mostly. Yes, mostly.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see now, you know, we can talk about this maybe more in the backstory about that'll be your own engagement from your early youth all the way through of how you've developed games. And these guys are all similar to yourselves. Like, I have to admit, it's a whole new world to me, this game development. You know, I've read about it, but it's wonderful where you've assembled all this team.
Yes, you know? It's been an amazing journey.
And are you all based in the one area, or do you work remotely? Just as
no, man. I don't know most of those people in person. So I started. I mean, the way that I was making games for clients, when the games got big, I would do the main task, but I will start finding talent to help me with small stuff. Like, hey, I need a 3D model. I need an audio. I need this effect. I need a mechanic. I need a web page. And then when this game started growing, I followed the same approach, and I started finding people that were kind of like in my situation, and they wanted to work on something that is original, where they had input, not just being told what they're going to do, but, you know, they have like some creative freedom. And that kept growing. In total, over the years, I think I have worked with more than 200 people making BULLETVILLE. But at the team in the page are the core team that are working, you know, they've been here, and they're gonna continue being here until the game is launched, you know, and further.
Wow,
so
fantastic. Again, if people come into the pledges, the higher end pledges, they'll be able to be working with your team, which is wonderful. This bit is just about why you're doing Kickstarter, and then the last bit I'd just like to emphasize to people in this deep dive, and just to finish off the deep dive, is the roadmap. So we're at the end really of the Kickstarter campaign. And then once that's funding through, then you're closing beta in August 2021, closed access. What does that mean, closed beta, closed access?
But that's when you have a bunch of people that are not native speakers. Sometimes things don't translate. This is early access. So this is the equivalent of a game that is launching early access on Steam. So it's not closed access, it's early access. It's just going to be paid. So that's why it's closed, but it's just early access.
Okay, and you've really got another year of, you know, the official launch is Q3, so that's autumn 2022. So it's like another 18 months really before you do the official launch.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than a game that is launched and it's broken. I don't want to mention too many games here, but this happens all the time. Like the game is announced, and even pre-order the game now. So we get all the money, and they release the game, and it's completely broken. So the game is going to be accessible and playable for the public at the end of the year. But I want to run this in a very critical manner for almost a year. We're just going to be playing with those people and fixing bugs, listening, balancing, adding content, taking away content, doing iteration. And when we know that the game is freaking perfect, then we call it a launch.
Yeah.
Then it's actually out. So when we announce, hey, the game is out, the game is out. It's not, oh, the game is out, yeah, expect for a day one patch. Yeah, no, we're fixing that. Oh, you lost all your data too. Oh, the game is broken. Well, thank you for your money. You may or not get an update now. So I really hate that practice. So we're doing this properly. That's the story.
That's great to hear. Great to hear. And so, listen, just to finish off the deep dive, I'd just like to bring you up to the top of the Kickstarter page. And I'd just like to thank Yoami from Now Company, who are live on Kickstarter. All the links will be in the video description below. Thank you so much, my friend, for a very enjoyable, informative deep dive. Thank you. Cheers, mate. Bye.